I've said many times how much I struggle in the Volcano dungeon. You have to fight time, tougher enemies, and even overcome lava. And once you get all the way to the top, you encounter this.
What the hell is even that?
When I first saw this, I had no idea how this was going to work. And really, without looking at the wiki or a guide, the only way to learn about how the forge works is by these vague journal scraps you can find on Ginger Island. I know this can look overwhelming, and even knowing a lot about Stardew, the forge can be a little confusing. So here's your beginner's guide to the forge in Stardew Valley, with the things you need to know, everything it does, how it works, and be sure to stick to the end because I will also share my go-to combinations so you can just copy me if you don't want to think much about what could work best. Hope you enjoy! The forge is located all the way to the top of the Volcano dungeon, on floor 10. But once you press this button, you can access it without going through the dungeon, which is just so nice. Do know that once you get your combat mastery, you can actually craft a mini forge to keep at home. It might be a little pricey to craft, just so you know. But it will work just like the regular forge, so no rush to get this one. At the forge, you can do a total of 5 different things. Forging your weapons, basically upgrading them. Enchanting your tools and or your weapons, obtaining the infinity weapons, combining rings, and lastly, changing the appearance of a weapon. All of this will require cinder shards to activate its ability. Your best bet to find cinder shards is, unfortunately, in the Volcano dungeon, but I have a guide to it that might come in handy if you're struggling to beat it or are wanting to get tips on how to find more shards. But what do all of these things even mean? Let me tell you about them. As I said earlier, forging weapons basically means upgrading them by adding speed, defense, etc. To forge your weapon, you need to place it in this slot right here and then add a gem on the other side. The gem you use will determine the upgrade you get. Amethyst gives you more knockback or weight to your weapon. Aquamarine gives you more critical hit chance, so your chance of making a critical hit is bigger. Emerald gives you speed. Jade gives you critical hit damage, so the damage you make on critical hits is bigger. Ruby adds damage, and lastly, Topaz adds defense. You can forge your weapon 3 times, costing you the gem you choose and some cinder shards, 10 for your first upgrade, then 15, and lastly 20. Each time you do it, you will get 1 level on the upgrade you chose, so you can combine what you think will work best, do 3 of the same kind, mix and match, etc. Another gem you can use is a diamond. This one will randomize the remaining forge levels you can have, but it will only cost 10 cinder shards, so it can be a good trade if you are short on cinder shards. If you would like to reset your upgrades back to 0, all you need to do is press this little X button, and you will even get a few cinder shards back. Independently from these upgrades, you can enchant your weapon and even your farming tools. This will require 20 cinder shards and a whole prismatic shard every enchantment. I say every because you may want to do this more than once. You see, every time you enchant a weapon or a tool, you get a random outcome that is actually seeded to your save file. So if you're looking for one in particular, you may have to try until you get it. The possible enchantments are Artful, which reduces the cooldown on special moves by 50%, very good for the hammer. Bug Killer, which makes it so that you deal double damage to grubs, flies, bugs, spiders, and rock crabs. But the best thing about it is that it makes it possible for you to kill armored bugs, though these are not really a challenge in my opinion, or have a good enough drop that is worth pursuing. I would say if you get this one, it might be good to bring it to the Desert Festival in case you get the Assassin's Bug debuff, but other than that, it is not great. Vampiric, which gives you 9% chance to regain some health when you kill an enemy, pretty self-explanatory. Crusader, which is the one I find the most useful because of how it helps speed the process on the mummy's eradication goal, as it makes it so you deal 50% more damage to ghosts, skeletons, void spirits, and mummies. And it also makes it so that mummies do not need to be bombed to stay down. I find these super helpful. And lastly, we have Haymaker. That would be great if you do not like to carry your scythe and instead use your sword to cut weeds and grass, since this makes it so that you get more fiber and also a chance of collecting hay from cutting weeds. I do love my iridium scythe though, so this one is also kinda meh. Now, before I move on, I wanted to mention the innate enchantments that got added in 1.6. These are special enchantments that you can do to your weapons, but the cost would be a dragon tooth instead of a prismatic shard. Sounds good in theory, but the catch is that you can't add those to any of the galaxy or infinity weapons, which are the best ones in the game, and the ones I would recommend shooting for, so I don't even look into these. But here are all the stats you can get. I would just say that if you're spending your valuable shards, might as well wait until you have a fancy weapon to spend them on, you know? Each of the tools, except the scythe and the trash can obtain a special enchantment. Your axe can be swift, which makes cutting trees 33% faster. It can have shaving, which allows you to have extra wood from cutting trees. Powerful makes it so that your hits are stronger. And lastly, you can enchant it to be efficient, which ironically, I found it to be the most inefficient enchantment for this and all of the tools it can go to. This upgrade means that using your tool will not require any energy. I just feel like if you're already forging and enchanting your tools, then you probably have other means of restoring your energy, like foods. That just makes the efficient enchantment seem worthless to me. But what do you think? Is it worth it to save this energy so late in game? Then we have the pickaxe. This one can also be swift, so 33% faster, and for skull cavern dives, it just seems so overpowered. You can also have powerful, making it have more strength when hitting rocks. And lastly, you can get the efficient as well. Not worth it in my opinion, especially with how much healing food you need to eat when mining. The fishing rod is a different thing. The best thing that you can get is the preserving perk. This makes it so that you have a 50% chance that the bait and tackle you're using aren't consumed on use, making them last way longer. And for things like deluxe bait, that can be really nice. Now, if you're using the trick with Lewis's shorts, then you might not be interested in this one, but you can get some other pretty decent enchantments. Auto hook, it's pretty self-explanatory. Automatically hooks the fish or junk when they bite, immediately starting the minigame. This takes a little bit from the fun, but can be really good if you're playing while also doing other things and you get a little distracted. You can also get Master, which give you a whole fishing level. Good if you want to have a bigger green bar or if you want to reach further fishing spots. And lastly, you can also make it efficient. Okay, then we have the hoe. Let me just say that I recommend not enchanting your hoe or your watering can until you have them in iridium, because of a specific enchantment you can get. But let's start with the one I find the most useful. Generous gives you a 50% chance of finding double the item you could get when digging. You could also get Archaeologist, which doubles the chance of finding artifacts in artifact spots. This can be especially helpful if you're trying to complete the museum. Reaching is another nice one. It makes it so that your area of effect increases, so you can hoe an area of 5 by 5, perfect for iridium sprinklers. You can also get swift if you need to hoe around 33% faster, or even efficient if you do not want to have a quick snack before keep preparing the land on spring 1st. The pan is really similar in that it can also be upgraded to Archaeologist to find more artifacts and artifact troves when panning, or Generous that helps you increase the amount of goodies you can find when panning. It can also get Reaching. With this one, you might not see it because it won't have those green squares, but it actually reaches a little further too. The special one for panning is Fisher, which adds 10% chance of not only getting treasure from panning, but even a whole fish. Lastly, the watering can is one that's a tough one for me. On one side, I would love to never ever again have to fill my watering can. That is what Bottomless would do for you. But on the other hand, getting Reaching can be such a helper when preparing the land, as it can water the same area of an iridium sprinkler. Just do not go for efficiency. I guess I have stressed my opinions on that one already. Now, here's a little trick. If you don't get the enchantment you want, that might be a little frustrating, because it is on the seed of the game. Even if you restart the day, you will get the same thing. But if you restart the day and try a different tool, then the outcome will be different. And the enchantments work in a list that advances every time you enchant something. This might take a lot of trial and error, a lot of restarting the day, and a lot of patience, but in my opinion, it is worth it because of how many prismatic shards you can save in the process of getting your ultimate setup. Or, you can just also use the Stardew Valley predictor. Now, let me tell you about Infinity Weapons. Once you get your hands on the Galaxy Sword, you can buy from the Adventurers Guild the Galaxy Dagger and the Galaxy Hammer. While all of these are super great already, it is still not their true form. To obtain the best weapons in the game, you will need 3 Galaxy Souls each. These can be obtained from Mr. Key's room. Once you have them, head to the forge and combine them with the weapon you want to upgrade. You will need to merge them 3 times, each of them costing you 20 Cinder Shards. Once you have done it 3 times, you will obtain the Infinity Sword, or Infinity Dagger or Hammer if you use the other weapons. The stats are a bit better, and you can still enchant and upgrade them. So yeah, these weapons can get really overpowered. That is why it costs so much work. Since we're back on talking about weapons, did you know that you can actually keep the stats of a great weapon, but have them with the appearance of another one? All you need to do is bring both the weapon with the stats you want and the weapon with the appearance you want to the forge. Just be sure you put the one with the stats on the first slot. Do know that only weapons of the same type can be merged, so you can't do a hammer and a sword. It will still cost you 10 Cinder Shards, because this economy is terrible. And also, the second sword you use will disappear, so keep that in mind. Lastly, one of the best things you can do at the forge is combine rings. Why is it so amazing? Well, you usually can only hold 2 rings at the same time. Your character only has 3 fingers, you see? But if you combine 2 rings together, then a single ring will have the stats and help from both rings, meaning you can have up to 4 rings equipped at the same time. Yes, combining rings also costs Cinder Shards, and it does have 2 restrictions. You can't combine 2 exact rings, and once a ring has been combined, you can't combine it again. That would just be an infinite combination glitch. Now, I know what you're thinking. That was a lot of information all at once, and honestly, with so many options, it can just be hard to choose what is the best one to pick. So let me just share what my personal set of tools, weapon, and even rings I like to go for. So you can just copy me if you want. I am a sword girly, so I always just go for the Infinity Blade. I usually forge it with 2 emeralds for +5 speed and once with ruby for more damage. Then I also like to enchant it with the Crusader one because I just don't like wasting my bombs on mummies. Though if I'm feeling feisty and want to bring the hammer with me, I will forge it with just straight up rubies and get the Artful enchantment on it to just hammer down those enemies like crazy. For my tools, I get the Swift for axe and pickaxe, Preserving for my fishing rod, Reaching for my hoe and my watering can, and Generous for my pan. And for my best ring combination, if I have been blessed by Joba and already have the lucky ring, I like to combine it with an iridium band. Just always having luck, light, and magnetism, plus having an extra attack is just something I can't pass on. Then I go for the napalm ring with the burglar's ring to make the skull caverns extra profitable from killing enemies. And that should do it. I know it can seem overwhelming, but the truth is that the hardest thing is getting the things to forge with and just deciding from all the options the game gives us. I think it is a fun thing to focus on during the late game while you're grinding for millions of gold. Either way, I hope this guide was helpful and maybe convince you to give the forge a try, as it can really give your game a boost. I have plenty of other guides that you can check out if you want to learn more random Stardew things, or if you just like Stardew content, I also do gameplays and whatnot. But anyway, my name is Mrs. Smuthy. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye!